Around the world, the death of George Floyd has spurred calls to remove historical monuments with ties to colonialism and slavery. From North America to Europe, statues have been vandalized or removed. And in the UK, the events have triggered a new awareness of the country's colonial past. Redmond Shannon reports.
To many, he is the greatest Briton of them all. Today, Winston Churchill's likeness is hidden away in anticipation of more Black Lives Matter protests. Last Sunday, a protester vandalised the statue, calling Churchill a racist. The wartime leader did believe in racial hierarchy, but remains a national hero. Slave trader Edward Colston is a hero to almost no one, but the way his statue was removed angered many too.
For many people of colour here, this is about more than just political correctness. They say it's about acknowledging that the legacy of colonialism hasn't gone away.
We will firmly say that many of the issues that are happening right now are related to the transatlantic slave trade. So we make that point. A lot of people don't like us making that point. Why?
Richard Benjamin is the head of Liverpool's International Slavery Museum, an institution that aims to fill what it believes are important gaps in Britain's history curriculums.
This is about education. Abraham Lincoln said the philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of the government in the next.
Juliet Gilkes Romero has written a play about the end of British slavery.
My master would string me up.
It explains how a staggering fortune was paid to slave owners in the 1830s as compensation for losing their property. In other words, their slaves. A debt only paid off by Britain 5 years ago.
How is it that the British public did not know that every working person was paying their taxes towards the bailout of slave owners?
Abolition was delayed partly by this man, Henry Dundas, the powerful politician who gave his name to one of Toronto's main streets. His likeness also sits high above Edinburgh. For years, Sir Geoff Palmer has campaigned for a new plaque that fully explains Dundas's actions.
We may now go for the future, where the politicians might say, knock down a statue. We'd rather you knock it down than we're not going to put the truth on it.
This past week, Edinburgh Council said a new plaque will finally be placed at the foot of the monument, just as the statue of another slave trader, Robert Milligan, was removed in London. Different solutions for a difficult history that often gets ignored. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
The use of controversial no-knock warrants has been banned in Louisville, Kentucky. Crowds of demonstrators cheered following the unanimous decision to approve Breonna's law. 3 months ago, Breonna Taylor was shot and killed in her apartment after police executed a so-called no-knock warrant. The warrants allow officers to enter a home without permission and without identifying themselves. The police were looking into a narcotics case, and the targets were actually operating in another neighborhood. No drugs were found in the apartment. Taylor, a first responder, was shot 8 times in the confusion. There's growing concern the U.S. may be in the early stages of another flare-up of COVID-19. More than a dozen states are seeing an increase in cases. That's prompting some areas to put their reopening plans on hold. But as Jennifer Johnson explains, others are pushing ahead.
In at least 14 U.S. states, there are record surges of COVID-19, among them South Carolina, Florida, and Oregon, reporting their highest numbers of new cases since the pandemic began, 2 weeks after the Memorial Day holiday weekend. Oregon putting the state's reopening plans on hold for at least a week.
The virus makes the timelines. We don't make the timelines.
With new cases up over 90% in Arizona, health officials worry they'll run out of intensive care beds.
We're seeing increasing numbers, and we're starting to see some strain on our hospitals.
With the U.S. surpassing 2 million cases, Arkansas is also seeing the virus spread, but not delaying its next reopening phase.
Regardless of what we see in the next week, we made the right decision.
In Texas, hospitalizations have risen 4 days in a row. Some health officials fear America's death toll could hit 200,000 by fall.
I had hoped that the fact that people are spending more time outside, that it's summer, we would not see such a big increase so fast.
U.S. President Donald Trump, who has pushed states to reopen, will soon hit the campaign trail, but now requiring rally-goers to sign a waiver, not holding him responsible if they contract the virus. Adding to the concerns, millions shoulder to shoulder protesting the death of George Floyd.
Many at the rallies were these 20 and 30-year-olds. They're going to go home and they're going to bring it to the people in their household.
Experts predicting another wave of COVID cases in the next 2 weeks, setting up the potential for a deadlier summer than expected. Jennifer Johnson, Global News, Washington.